we're going to talk about some of the most common mistakes that I see with newer freelance bookkeepers. My name is Susan Osborne, and I am the founder of the Bookkeeper Society, where I teach new and aspiring bookkeepers how to get the skills they need to be a professional, confident, and efficient bookkeeper so they can work from home on their own schedule. Okay, so let's dive in. So the first mistake that I see newer bookkeepers make is not having a proper month-end process. Now, having a month-end process is just a critical piece to any bookkeeper or accounting professional's process. You want to be sure you are doing certain things at the end of every month to make sure the books are clean, they're up to date, and that you're producing accurate financials. So what do I mean by a month-end process? Well, what you want to be doing is obviously reconciling any relevant accounts, mainly the bank account for sure. You want to be reconciling that every month against the bank statement. You also want to be reconciling any credit cards and also any loans that the business may have. And when I say loans, I mean if you can get a statement for the loan, breaking out the principal and the interest from that loan. You're also going to want to reconcile anything else on the account. Usually these are things on the balance sheet, like you might have a prepaid account. You want to reconcile and understand what's going on in that account. Any accruals that you might have on a balance sheet, you want to understand what is happening in there. And you also want to reconcile any other relevant accounts, like a PayPal account, etc. So when I say reconcile, I use the term hard reconciling for when you're reconciling inside the software, like inside QuickBooks Online. You want to be doing a hard reconciliation on things like banks and credit cards, anything like that. Now, a soft reconciliation, I kind of call that soft because it's being done outside of the accounting software in a spreadsheet. And those can be things like prepaid accounts, accruals, deferred revenue. Those are a little bit more advanced things that you may not encounter with a small business client, but I just want to mention it because those are things, if you have those on the financials, you'll want to be reconciling them in a spreadsheet. But at the end of the day, you just want to make sure that you have a checklist for your month-end process so that you can make sure you're checking the box for everything that you need to be doing to get all the transactions recorded, everything reconciled so that you can produce really nice, clean, updated financials for your clients. And I have a little month-end checklist for you that you can get by subscribing in the link below this video. Okay, the next mistake that I see a lot of newer bookkeepers make is simply not really understanding the reports that they're creating for their clients. So typically you're going to be producing a profit and loss statement, which is also called the income statement, and a balance sheet for your client. Now there may be other reports as well, but those are the two kind of main core reports that you're going to be producing. And you want to understand what those reports are saying. I feel like financial reports tell a story about the business. They're painting a picture. So you want to be able to look at those reports and see what's going on and understand gross margin. What does that mean? What is that telling the client? Are they spending too much money on the product that they're selling, etc.? You want to kind of understand the logic behind the numbers so that you can help educate your clients on those reports. And that is going to make you such a pro, and your clients are going to love you because you're educating them and helping them understand what's happening in their business. Now, keep in mind, a lot of business owners, they don't understand bookkeeping and they don't understand financials. Some of them don't even want to look at it. It makes their head spin. But if you can come to the table with, look, here it is, here are the highlights, here's what you just need to know, this is just going to make you all that more valuable to a small business client. Okay, another mistake that I see not just new bookkeepers, but experienced bookkeepers make as well is covering up mistakes. Now, remember, you're going to be someone in a very sensitive situation where you're dealing with people's finances. So you want to have a lot of integrity and honesty in everything you do. Now, that's not to say you have to tell your client every time you book something to the wrong thing or, every little mistake that might happen, because they're going to happen. We all make mistakes every month. It's most of the time they're going to be small, very fixable mistakes, like you just book something to the wrong account or you double book something. And that's why we do reconciliations at month end, to catch those things, because they do happen all the time. But it's bigger mistakes that I've seen people cover up. And I just recommend, if you make a mistake that affects the client in some major way, like you paid a bill twice for them and it costs double the money out of their bank account or something like that, you want to be sure and tell the client. You want to just be honest about, say, hey, I made a mistake, but I can fix it. I just want to make you aware of it. Anything like that. Just be upfront and honest about any type of mistake. Don't try to cover things up, because in accounting, it always bubbles back up to the top. And I've seen it over and over again with even colleagues of my own who try to cover up something. They paid the wrong vendor, and it just comes back to haunt you at some point. So just be honest and know that most everything is going to be fixable. Okay, the next mistake is kind of a biggie, and it really is something easy, I feel like, to nip in the bud. But if you're not a good communicator, it could be kind of tricky. And that is just communication with your clients. A lot of bookkeepers aren't really great. I shouldn't say a lot. Some are not really great at communicating with their clients. First of all, you want to set expectations clearly with your new client, and you want to make sure they understand what your turnaround times are, what your deadlines are, and if they want to email you, let them know, hey, I take 24 hours to respond to emails. That's totally fair. And if you're a business owner, you've got to have boundaries, and you've got to have process to how you work. But you don't want to just ghost your clients. I've seen this over and over again, where a client's trying to reach out to their bookkeeper and they don't know where they are. They don't hear from them for a week or two. They kind of go on vacation and they don't tell their client, and they can't reach them, and they're needing to get some important information for a bank loan or something. It's just those kinds of things that can really make or break your success as a freelance bookkeeper. So you want to make sure you're really setting expectations with your clients and you're communicating clearly from the get-go. And you want to be responsive. It doesn't mean you have to be on call for your clients. Again, we want to have boundaries. You don't have to respond to texts at 9 o'clock at night, but you do need to respond in a timely manner to your clients. It's just really important. And I've seen this time and time again, where bookkeepers get fired from their client work because they just can't respond to an email. I've seen it a lot. So just make sure that's not you. The next mistake I see, and this was a mistake I made a lot when I was first starting out, is not actually having a contract. You want to have a contract with your new client. You can actually nip a lot of these expectation things in the bud by spelling it out in your contract. You want to make sure you have a scope of service in there. So you're really spelling out what it is you're doing as a service provider for your client. You want to spell that out in your contract. You want to spell out any terms that you have, payment terms. You want to make sure you put your pricing clearly in there, and you want to just make sure that there's some language around if you want to cancel working together, give each other a 30-day notice. You just want to make sure you have a nice, clear contract with your clients. You don't want to just take on a client and just start doing their work without anything spelled out, without anything in writing. You just really want to make sure everything's clear for both parties. So always make sure you have a contract in place. And then the last thing I will say that I see as a mistake, and it's easy to forget, it's not a biggie, but it is kind of important if you want to grow your client base, is to ask your current clients for referrals. And ask, your friends and family, of course, too. Hey, do you know anyone who needs a bookkeeper? I am taking on new clients and I've got a little bit of room in my schedule. So if you have somebody or somebody in your circle, please give them my information. So you want to just be asking those things and putting the word out there, because you always want to be marketing yourself. And that can just be a simple 2-second conversation like that. Just letting people know, hey, I'm taking on some new clients. I just had a client roll off, or I've got some space in my schedule now that just opened up. I would love to take on a new client. So just be sure and ask. Don't be afraid to ask, because they may not know anybody right now, but they might 2 months from now. They might run across someone who's asking for a bookkeeper, and they're going to think of you. So be sure and just ask for those referrals. Okay, well, I hope these mistakes have been helpful to you, just to bring it to your awareness. What are these most common mistakes that I've seen with newer bookkeepers? These are really things that will separate you from being an amateur and a pro, and will set you up for success as a freelance bookkeeper. For a month-end checklist to help you set up your month-end process properly, be sure and sign up at the link below for my free checklist download.